your name and school. If there's a group of you, please type in everybody's name and school. This is important data which helps us keep track of who's attending. If you're having trouble hearing, check that the speaker icon on the top menu bar is green. If you're still having trouble, click on the meeting menu, then run the audio wizard. The mic icon should not be green. You can easily click on the icon to change it. I'll be leading today's presentation with Chanel, Elizabeth, Evia and Marcella in the chat pod. Please feel free to type into the chat pod at any time. A couple of housekeeping tips. This is a one-way session, so please ensure your microphone is muted. To save on bandwidth and make this Adobe Connect session more stable, I will just leave you now with my video paused so that you can see that I'm here, but you can't see me presenting. You can download our presentation at the end of today's session. We will also add a recording of the session to our website for anyone unable to attend. Before we commence our Adobe Connect today, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of all the lands on which we are meeting today and pay my respects to elders past, present and future, and extend my respects to any Aboriginal people who may be joining us today. I am delivering from the lands of the Awabakal people of Newcastle, Lake Macquarie region. In term 4 last year, we changed our approach to statewide Adobe Connects. Each term on Wednesday in week 4, we will deliver short 30-minute professional learning snapshots. Last term, we presented our top 10 favourite assessment tasks, and the recording of that session has been viewed over 600 times. If you would like us to present on a particular topic, just let us know through Yammer, which is called Languages New South Wales 7 to 12. If you're not familiar with Yammer, it's the department's social media platform, and you can find it in the staff portal in your essentials. We call it our virtual staff room. We already have more than 330 language teachers interacting with us there. We've included more information in our download pod. You can also download today's presentation, game outlines and information, so there's no need to take notes. Just sit back, relax and enjoy. Because this is our first Adobe Connect for 2020, I'll just take a moment to introduce the team, which has grown since last year. Elizabeth is the Coordinator Language and Culture team based in Parramatta, along with Evia, the Language Advisor for Term 1, whilst the recruitment process is in place for this position, the Language Officers Maxine and Marcella. We also have Chanel and myself as Language Officers, both based in the Hunter. We are all here to support you through various means such as Yammer, Facebook, email, phone, Languages New South Wales and Twitter. And one last thing before we begin. At the start of each school year, we send every school a letter via snail mail just to ensure that everyone is aware of our support. Hopefully you've received your copy, but if not, we have one available for you to download in the download pod. During our last Adobe Connect session, we polled participants about the content for today's session, and you asked for games ideas for language lessons. Why are we so drawn to games? Interaction between students and the teacher in a relaxed manner. Positive relationships, a sense of community and trust in the classroom from which future interactions can be developed and students feel more able to have a go and take risks. Learn work skills through helping each other and negotiating through play. Development of macro skills in a fun way that can be utilised when communicating with the other target language speakers. Pronunciation and structure practice in a non-threatening environment. Specific language targets away from devices. There's some games like Quizlet requires devices. Creativity and variety for teachers with minimal resources or planning time. A change of pace in longer lessons, and fun. There are many types of games such as card games, board games and physical activities which move students away from their devices and allow them to focus on the activity, the language and on each other. Of course, online games utilizing computers and their mobile phones are also valuable tools and a great way to show students how they can use these devices they love to further their language learning. Games are a great outlet for teachers to show their creativity and add personality and vibrance to their lessons. As teachers, we have many ideas tucked away that we may forget about or bring out during particular themes and topics. Today we hope to remind you of some of those ideas, give some new ones, and stimulate further creativity on how you can adapt these activities to your classroom. For today's presentation, we have chosen a variety of game types, and we hope you will share your adaptations and game ideas with us through Yammer so that we can create a bank that teachers can easily use. Quality games are not busy work in our lessons. They are genuine opportunities to develop and practice new skills, and even to informally assess how students are progressing, both for you and for the students themselves. What are the key considerations in using quality games in your lessons? Is it a meaningful language learning activity? What goals do you have for the students through participation in this activity? How will you encourage participation for everyone? Ensure adaptations and/or scaffolding for students with disabilities and visuals and directions are clear. What space and equipment will you use? Consider if the activity will be indoors or outdoors, require computers, Wi-Fi, student mobile phones, and so on. Do you have a backup plan? What strategies do you have in place for classroom management? What expectations and information do you need to provide to the students for the activity to run smoothly about the game and the language use expected? How will you introduce the game to the class? With clear directions and learning goals, games bring language to life in your classrooms and provide engaging means to develop language skills, revise prior learning, informally assess student learning, and prepare students for the next stage of their learning. Guess the Word is a word association game to help students build and recall vocabulary. The teacher divides the class into 2 to 4 teams. Teams choose an in-person to come and sit facing the class with their backs to the board. The teacher writes a mystery word in the target language on the board. Teams take turns in giving one-word clues to help the in-person from their team be the first to guess the word on the board. Clues cannot mention any part of the target word and can only be one word. A point is awarded to the group who guesses the word first. Take turns until all students have had a turn. This game is a useful word association game to build and recall vocab. Another example could be the keyword rabbit. Hints may be pet, ears, carrot, Easter, so on. Language goals for this activity include recalling and building vocab, speaking, pronunciation. Let's have a quick play. In the chat pod, what one word would you give in your target language for the clue teacher? Type your answer in. Okay, well done, people that are answering. As an extension, students could compose a short passage or fun poem with vocabulary from the game, which includes adverbs, adjectives, sentence starters, and conjunctions in the target language. Verb Conjugation Snap is a fast-paced, quick recognition matching game. Students in pairs or small groups are given piles of cards with different verb conjugations, which they will find a matching pair for whilst playing Snap. This is particularly good for languages with challenging conjunctions such as French. Language goals include reading and grammatical structures. As an extension to this game, can be varied to match word meanings, sentence endings, and character recognition. Students can also create their own matching pairs and play. Time ballet is a fun physical activity which helps students drill time words and phrases. Teachers select a ballet-style song, for example by the Beautiful Blue Danube by Strauss, and create a PowerPoint with time phrases on it in the target language, or they could be called out if preferred for listening practice. Play the music or integrate it into your PowerPoint on slide auto advanced mode, and have the class move their arms to show the correct times as they read or hear them. Language goals for this activity are to drill time phrases, drill characters for scripted languages, and reading or listening as an adaptation. This idea came from the Wilton School in the UK with other physical activities in language learning classrooms and can be found at the link provided in the download pod. Family Gathering card game is suited for early stages of learning the target language, focusing on family, ownership terms, and basic questioning. Students recognise family members, animals, family names, and characters for these in scripted languages, through the gathering of family members to reunite them with their family. You can download game instructions and a template for this game in English to adapt to your own language. A Japanese one has also been provided. Divide the class into groups of 6. Randomly distribute 6 cards from the game pack to each player, then place the remaining cards face down on the pile. The player to the right of the dealer goes first by asking another player if they have a specific card. For example, do you have the dog of the Smith family? If the player has the card, they must say, yes, I do, and give it to them. If not, they say, no, I don't, and the player draws another card. Play moves to the right. When a player collects a complete family, they may play that set on the table as part of their turn. Play continues until all families have been completed. The player with the most completed families wins. Language goals of this game include drill family terms and character recognition in scripted languages, ownership terms, requests, do you have? No, I don't have. Yes, I do have. Reading and pronunciation practice. Each card in the game has a family name at the top, so you will know which family everyone belongs to. Underneath the pictures are the family member terms. At the bottom of the card shows all the family members for that family that need to be collected. To support students, you may even provide a vocabulary and structure support sheet with terms such as, do you have the dog of the Smith family? Yes, I have them. No, I don't, sorry. Here you are. This is the Smith family. This game could be easily adapted to other topics such as places in different cities, items for shopping or food ingredients from the country of the target language for further discussion and cultural inclusion. Potluck is a quick and easy game to set up. It's a fun way to revise a variety of language skills and topics in a fast-paced game. Draw the grid on the board with the categories. Students are divided into 2 teams, the noughts team and the crosses team. Students take turns from each team, choosing a box to answer a question on that topic. A correct answer allows the team to place a nought or cross for their team in that box. Play continues till one team gets 3 in a row. Students can each take a turn as their team plays, or they can answer as a group if it's a tougher question. It's up to you. Questions may be about vocabulary, characters, grammar, or even listening passages. Potluck questions can be based on anything at all, including culture, pop culture, geography, or history. This game can be made as easy or challenging as you wish. Questions can be made up on the spot by the teacher, by students before the game, or pre-made by the teacher with sound and video files to incorporate a listening and responding element. Language goals of this game include vocab and structure drilling on any topic areas, speaking, listening, writing. Perhaps students can race for potluck points by being the first team to complete a language puzzle or trivia questions. You may ask students to respond out loud or on whiteboards for a writing component. The choices are endless with this game. Blindfolded obstacle game has students move away from their devices, desks and books and allows them a chance to be active in the classroom or playground during language class. Teachers create an obstacle course in the classroom, hall or playground. Students work in small groups of 3 to 4 with one student blindfolded. The rest of the group must guide the blindfolded person through the obstacle course by giving directions in the target language. Each member should take turns in giving directions in the target language. Language goals include giving directions, positions, and commands, speaking, and listening. Some consideration may need to be given for students with physical disabilities when doing this activity. Please ensure you make adjustments in order to keep all games inclusive for all members of your class. Amazing Race Around the School is a great activity for students to work together to solve clues and use language outside the classroom. Students are given clues in the target language leading to a journey of different locations around the school. Before the game, put signs or choose markers around the school. Write directions from each sign or marker to the next for students to read and move to the locations in order. In groups of 3 to 4, students start at a different location or marker and find their way to the next using the clues. Students should write what they find at each place. This could be a sign around the school. It could be a sign the teacher placed there for the activity. The teacher may create a QR code link to a question in the target language or a piece of information about the country for students to use their phones to scan and find answers. The first group back to the classroom with the correct answers in the fastest time wins. Language goals include giving directions, positions and commands, reading and writing. As an extension to this task, to develop writing skills, students could create their own amazing race around the school or using a map around a city in the target language and share with the class. When tour groups visit your school from overseas, this is a fun way for the students to interact and do a school tour. You can get people in your school on board so that when students find their way to certain locations, they can practice their English in asking for things such as a lamington from the canteen ladies, a photograph with the principal. The librarian may be asked to help locate a book about Australia. Running dictation requires students to pay attention and has them off their devices and active in the classroom. Teachers create cards with different keywords on them before the lesson. These should be the same for each group. The keywords can be adapted to focus on any area of learning. In groups, students are given keywords which they will identify in sentences called out by the teacher. The teacher calls out a sentence in the target language that contains one of the keywords. The student from each group holding that keyword must run to the front of the room and write down the sentence they heard. They can ask for help from one of the team members if they can't remember the full sentence. The team that writes down the sentence correctly first gets a point. As an extension, students could translate the sentence into English. In our example, you can see the keyword bicycle. The teacher may say in the target language, "I rode my bicycle to the beach last week." The students in each group with bicycle on their card runs out to the board and writes the sentence. To ensure the game runs smoothly, do not put words that are common in sentences as keywords, meaning the words "I rode my to the beach last week" would not appear as words on the other cards to ensure only one student runs out. Language goals include listening for key information, writing, character reading, and writing for scripted languages. As an extension, students could write the sentence on mini whiteboards and create a short story or add additional information to the phrase to develop grammatical skills. FaceTime is an activity focused on emotions and can incorporate some complex grammatical structures when discussing the emotions of people, so this may be a task better suited for Stage 5 or more advanced learners. Students try to identify moods based on facial expressions by either cutting faces out of magazines or using pictures printed out. Groups discuss the pictures in the target language to identify what they think that person is feeling and put the faces into piles based on different emotions. The more subtle the expression, the more interest in the conversation in the target language. If they need some support in doing so, word lists or open books could be useful. Language goals include interacting, speaking and listening, expressing emotions and reasons why. What are they feeling and why are they feeling this way? As an extension activity, in groups, students could choose one of the faces and compose a story in the target language, accounting for what may have happened to cause the emotion shown. Students should be encouraged to be creative and have fun. Manipulate the language through considering sentence structures, adverbs, sentence starters, and conjunctions that enhance their stories. These could be shared with other groups to identify the emotion conveyed. Students could also discuss what real-life scenario communication they may have with someone using the language in this activity. Mime game. Miming is an excellent way for students to practice their tenses and their verbs. It's also a great way for teachers with minimal resources or planning time to add value to their lesson, or teachers who want to break up a longer lesson with something more interactive. It's adaptable to almost any language point that you might be focusing on. Actions such as washing the dishes are written and put into a bag. These can be written by teachers or students. Divide the class into 2 teams, bring one student from each team to the front of the class and ask one of them to choose an action from the bag. Have both students mime the action to their team. The first team to shout out the correct answer wins a point. Repeat this until all students have mimed at least one action. You can use your thumb to point forwards or backwards to indicate a past or future tense of a verb. Language goals include drill tenses and verbs, reading, speaking, and listening. If your students are a bit shy with mime and drama, this could be played as Pictionary on the board, with students drawing the action rather than miming it. What's Yours Like? Is a very interactive game in which students share details about themselves relating to the prompts. This is best played in groups of about 6 to 10. A student tries to identify what the prompt or secret item is through clues given by each member of the group, describing what their own is like. For example, if the keyword is pet, student A says, mine is brown, student B, mine is cute, student C, mine is smelly, and so on. If it was mobile phone, student A says, mine is old, student B says, mine is black, and so on. Prompts could be items such as a car, hair, favorite holiday place. Students will not want to give obvious clues, as the longer it takes the player in the hot seat to guess the mystery word, the more points they receive. The player in the hot seat is able to guess after each clue and gets 1 point for each clue they've been given. This continues on until the player in the hot seat guesses the answer or everyone is given 2 clues. The game ends when the players have completed the agreed upon number of rounds. The player with the least amount of points wins. Some students, particularly beginning students, may like to take a few moments to write their clue on a piece of paper if they cannot think spontaneously. Encourage students to manipulate language learnt to incorporate a number of elements into their clues, such as adverbs and time words, in order to give more complex responses. Language goals include drilling vocab and structures, listening and speaking, describing words. Let's play. In the chat pod, if the mystery word was income, what would you write as your clue? Mine is. I think we'd agree we'd all like a little bit more. Examples could be, mine goes too fast, mine is not big enough, mine comes every 2 weeks, I share mine with my family. If I am sick, mine is less. Things. Things is a game based on another game known as Things in a Box, where students can be imaginative and funny as they like, and imagine things that might be said or experienced, or not, in different situations prompted by the teacher. The class is divided into groups. 2 to 4 would be ideal, but this game can also be played individually with small classes. The teacher reads out a prompt to the class such as, things you wish you were allowed to do. This can be read in English or in the target language. Each group writes a response in the target language and gives it to the teacher, who reads them aloud to the class. Each group takes in turns in going first each round to guess which group wrote which response. If the group guesses correctly, they continue to guess the matchups until incorrect, at which time the group to their left tries guessing. Groups whose responses were correctly identified are eliminated from the round and cannot make guesses. The round ends when one group has not been matched to a response. 1 point is awarded for each correct guess. 6 points are awarded to the group who successfully avoided detection. The teacher can determine the number of rounds, and the highest score wins. Groups could be encouraged to add more details to the responses, such as conjunctions, different tenses, adverbs and time words to build more complex sentence patterns. Language goals include drilling vocab and structures, writing and listening. We've provided some more prompt examples in the table. Things you wish you were allowed to do. Things you shouldn't say by text. Things you would like to ask Siri. Things a monster does in the closet whilst waiting to scare you. Things that are cool about being able to speak a foreign language. Things that would make a good potato chip flavour. We've provided, however, if you're not feeling too confident coming up with the prompts or would like to see further stimulus questions, you can purchase a copy of the game, Things in a Box, which has hundreds of ideas. As an extension, students could choose the most engaging responses or prompts and create a short role play of the situation. Some oldies but goodies in wrapping up our game bonanza today. Here are some reminders of games that are oldies and goodies. Chinese Whispers, Simon Says, Speed Dating, Guess Who, Celebrity Heads, Snap, Hangman, Battleship, Find Your Partner, Vocab Sentence Grab Games. There are many ways to select teams. Perhaps you can give students matching stickers, coloured cards or tokens as they come into the room. Classroom Teammates by iDossio is a cheap and useful app for iPad and iPhone that can help teachers keep track of teams and points for all classes in one place, allowing you to easily move students between teams as well as pick random teams and students to take a turn. Classroom Roulette by iDossio for iPad and iPhone is a colourful electronic spinning wheel that will help engage your classes with random selections. You can configure your own lists with students, quizzes or any other combination. You can use Japanese and Chinese characters too. The first wheel shows how it can be used to randomly select students but could easily have questions or prompts instead of names. In picture 2, you can also have 2 roulette wheels that you can customise. The red and white wheel shows different tenses in French, and the second wheel shows different verbs in French. They can be randomly played for grammatical structure practice or stimulus to create stories or conversations. If students can't decide on a winner or to quickly resolve disputes. In those tricky situations when students claim they guessed the answer first, tied, grabbed a card at the same time, you could play rock, paper, scissors, or as the Japanese know it, jung, pong. It's a quick and decisive way to come to a determination, and it's even been used by major companies in Japan to make big business decisions and resolve disputes. Why not try it in your classroom? Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed the session. As I mentioned earlier, you can download the PowerPoint from the Downloads pod. Once you click on it, the download button will become active. We've also added our Yammer guide there too. We'll stay in the room for another 5 minutes. If anyone has any questions, just type them into the chat pod. If you don't have any questions, enjoy your afternoon and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, everybody.